My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Another notification. I'd been ignoring them all morning, still too weak from the surgery to care about whatever was happening on social media. But this one kept buzzing. Again. A group chat I hadn't checked in weeks. I picked it up, squinting at the screen. OMG, Sarah. Is that your yacht? Marcus, you're living the dream. Wait, how did you afford that, lol? My chest tightened. Not the surgery pain. Something else. I opened Instagram with shaking hands. Found Sarah's profile. And there it was, posted 6 hours ago. My daughter, in a white bikini and oversized sunglasses. My son beside her in swim trunks. Both of them grinning like they'd just won the lottery, champagne glasses raised in a toast. Behind them, a gleaming 50-foot yacht. The name painted across the hull in gold letters, New Horizons. Location, Bahamas. The caption read, "Finally living the life we deserve." Clinking glasses sparkles, #blessed, #new beginnings, #smart investments. I stared at that photo, at their faces, at that yacht, and something cold began spreading through my veins. Smart investments. 3 weeks ago, I'd signed power of attorney papers before my triple bypass surgery. Standard procedure, my lawyer had said, just in case. Sarah had held my hand. Marcus had promised to take care of everything. My hands were trembling now as I opened my banking app. Checked my investment account. The one I'd been building for 23 years. The one that had $817,000 in it last time I looked. The screen loaded. Balance, $4,322.19. I stopped breathing. Scrolled down to recent transactions. Transfer. 7 large transfers over the past 2 weeks. All to an account I didn't recognize. All authorized by power of attorney. The last transfer was dated yesterday. $127,000. Memo. Chun Family Trust Account. Final distribution. My life savings. Gone. And my children were on a yacht in the Bahamas, drinking champagne, celebrating the life they deserved. The phone slipped from my hands and clattered onto the floor. I should tell you how we got here. How a mother who sacrificed everything, who worked 3 jobs to put her ungrateful children through private school, who skipped meals so they could have new clothes, ended up betrayed by the very people she'd given her life to protect. But the real story, the one that kept me up every night after that moment, started 23 years earlier with a decision I made that I thought would secure their future forever. My name is Margaret Chen, and for 47 years, I believed I was doing everything right. When my husband David died of a sudden heart attack in 2001, I was 32 years old with 2 children under 5. Sarah was 4, Marcus was 2, and I was a part-time receptionist with $1,700 in our joint account. David's life insurance barely covered the funeral costs. His parents blamed me for his stress, for his death, and cut us off completely. My own parents had passed years before. We were alone. I remember sitting on our apartment floor that first week, bills scattered around me like fallen leaves, watching my children sleep on the couch we'd bought at a garage sale. Sarah had her thumb in her mouth. Marcus was clutching his father's old baseball cap. And I made a promise to them, to David's memory, to myself. I would give them everything. They would never struggle the way I had. They would have opportunities, education, security. They would never feel the cold grip of poverty that I started working. Not just 1 job, 3, sometimes 4. Mornings, I answered phones at a law firm. Afternoons, I cleaned houses. Evenings, I waitressed at an upscale restaurant downtown. Weekends, I did data entry from home. I slept 4 hours a night. I wore the same 3 outfits for 2 years. I cut my own hair in the bathroom mirror. I ate pasta and canned vegetables while my children had fresh fruit and organic milk. But I was strategic about it. Every spare dollar went into a high-yield savings account, then into index funds, then into carefully researched stocks. I taught myself about investing using library books and free online courses. By the time Sarah turned 10, I'd saved $50,000. By Marcus's high school graduation, it was $200,000. By last year, when I turned 55, I'd reached $817,000. My children never knew about it. Not the full amount. I told them we had some savings for emergencies, nothing more. I wanted them to stay humble, to work hard, to appreciate what they had. And they did seem grateful, at least I thought they did. Sarah became a marketing manager at a tech startup. Marcus went into finance. They had good jobs, nice apartments, respectable lives. I was so proud. I'd planned to tell them about the money on my 60th birthday. I had it all worked out in my head, a family dinner, a heartfelt speech about sacrifice and love, and then the reveal, for $100,000 for each of them. Enough to buy homes, start businesses, secure their own children's futures. It would be my final gift, proof that every sacrifice had been worth it. But life had other plans. 6 months ago, I started having chest pains. Severe ones. My doctor ordered tests, found blockages, scheduled surgery. Triple bypass, he said, but nothing to worry about. I was strong, healthy despite my age. Sarah and Marcus came to the hospital the day before the procedure. Sarah held my hand and cried. Marcus promised he'd take care of everything while I recovered. "We love you, Mom," Sarah whispered. "We're so lucky to have you." I signed the power of attorney paperwork that evening. Standard procedure, my lawyer said. Just in case something goes wrong during surgery, someone needs to handle your affairs. I listed both children as co-agents. They were successful, responsible adults. Why wouldn't I trust them? The surgery went well. I woke up groggy but alive. Tubes in my chest, everything wrapped in a fog of morphine and exhaustion. Sarah and Marcus visited every day that first week. They brought flowers, magazines, Sarah's homemade soup. They seemed attentive, concerned. Perfect children doing their duty. I came home on day 9. Sarah had hired a nurse to check on me daily. Marcus had filled my refrigerator. They'd cleaned my apartment, put fresh sheets on my bed, left encouraging notes on the bathroom mirror. I felt guilty for ever doubting their love, even in my darkest moments of single-parent exhaustion. But then came the phone call that changed everything. 3 weeks post-surgery, still recovering, I received a call from my bank's fraud department. There'd been unusual activity on my investment account, the representative said. Several large transfers. Did I authorize them? My hands went numb. What transfers? Ma'am, it appears someone with power of attorney authorization moved $812,000 to an external account over the past 2 weeks. The final transfer was completed yesterday. The room tilted. That's impossible. That money, that's my entire life savings. I understand, ma'am, but the authorization was legitimate. Signed by your designated agents. We're required to process transfers made by power of attorney holders unless you file a formal. I hung up. My chest hurt, not from the surgery but from something much deeper. Something tearing open inside my soul. I called Sarah first. It went to voicemail. Then Marcus. Also voicemail. I called Sarah's work. She's taken the week off, her assistant said cheerfully. Went on vacation with her brother. Something about a surprise trip. Isn't that nice? That's when I opened Instagram. And that's when I saw the yacht. The photo was posted 18 hours earlier. Sarah in a white bikini and oversized sunglasses, Marcus in swim trunks, both of them grinning like lottery winners. Behind them, a gleaming 50-foot yacht named New Horizons. The location tag said Bahamas. I scrolled through the comments. Friends congratulating them. Someone asking how they afforded it. Marcus had replied, "Let's just say we made some smart investments pay off." Smiling face with sunglasses. Smart investments. My investments. My money. My life. I sat there for 3 hours, phone in my lap, trying to understand. Trying to find an explanation that made sense. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they'd borrowed against my account temporarily, planning to pay it back. Maybe there was a good reason. But then I checked my email and found the messages I'd been too drugged to notice earlier. 7 emails from Sarah, sent over the past 2 weeks, all with the subject line, "Important estate documents. Please review." I deleted them thinking they were spam. I opened them now. They were transfer authorization forms. professionally formatted, covered in legal language. Each one transferring a portion of my investments to something called Chin Family Trust Account. And at the bottom of each form, my electronic signature, harvested from the power of attorney documents. They'd forged them. Technically legal because of the POA, but morally? Criminally? They'd stolen from their own mother while she was recovering from heart surgery. But I still didn't understand why. They had good jobs. They didn't need my money. I called Sarah again. This time she answered, "Mom, how are you feeling? We were just thinking about you." Her voice was bright, cheerful, slightly slurred. "Day drinking on my stolen money." "Sarah," I said quietly, "I need you to tell me what happened to my investment account." Silence. Long enough that I could hear ocean waves in the background. "Mom, we can talk about this when we get back." "You stole from me." My voice cracked. "You stole everything I saved." "It's not like that." Her tone shifted, defensive now. "You don't understand. Marcus and we've been talking and we realized, Mom, you're not getting any younger. You had a major surgery. What if something had happened? All that money would have just gone to the state, or taxes, or whatever. We're your children. It's basically our inheritance anyway." Inheritance. I couldn't breathe. "I'm not dead, Sarah." "I know, but..." She covered the phone. Muffled conversation. Marcus's voice in the background. When she came back, her tone was harder. "Look, Mom, you've always been so secretive about money. We didn't even know you had that much saved. And honestly, after everything we've done for you, taking care of you, visiting you in the hospital, managing your recovery, we deserve this. You deserve this." "Yes." She said it like it was obvious. "Do you know how hard it's been, having to put our lives on hold to take care of you?" Marcus missed a major client meeting. I had to delay a promotion opportunity. "We've sacrificed a lot, Mom. This is just compensation." Something inside me crystallized into ice. "Where did the money go, Sarah?" "We made investments. Smart ones. The yacht is just part of it. We're starting a charter business in the Bahamas. It's going to be huge. You should be proud of us." Proud. The word tasted like poison. "Yeah. I mean, God, Mom, you worked yourself to death your whole life. And for what? To die with a pile of money in the bank? At least we're living. At least we're making something of ourselves. You should be thanking us for." I hung up, but the real twist was still coming. I sat there, numb, trying to process what had just happened. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Mom, Sarah's upset. You need to understand we were going to tell you eventually. The POA thing was Dad's idea anyway. He left instructions." Dad's idea. David, my husband, dead for 23 years. What the hell did that mean? I went to the closet and pulled out the box of David's things I'd kept all these years. Photos, letters, documents. I'd gone through it 100 times, but now I was looking for something specific. And I found it. An envelope, yellowed with age, addressed to Sarah and Marcus, to be opened on your mother's decline or death. My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside was a letter in David's handwriting, dated 3 days before he died. To my darling children, if you're reading this, your mother is either gone or failing. I want you to know the truth about the money she's been saving. Before I met your mother, I was engaged to another woman. Her name was Elizabeth Chen. We were going to be married, start a family, but she got pregnant before the wedding, and when I found out the baby wasn't mine, she'd been having an affair with my business partner, I left her. I was angry, devastated. I made a decision I've regretted every day since. Elizabeth had a younger sister, Margaret, your mother. She was 19, working as a waitress, trying to put herself through college. She'd always had a crush on me. I knew that. And in my anger and pain, I used her. I seduced her, got her pregnant with Sarah. And then I married her, not because I loved her, but because I wanted to hurt Elizabeth. To show her I could move on, replace her, start the family she'd stolen from me. By the time Marcus was born, I'd fallen in love with Margaret for real. But I never told her the truth about why I married her. I let her believe it was fate, Love at first sight, destiny. The guilt has eaten me alive. I'm dying, kids. Heart disease. The doctors give me 6 months. I'm not going to tell your mother. She's already struggling, already sacrificing so much. But I've set up something for her. Insurance policies. Investments. When I'm gone, she'll have enough to survive, to raise you well. But here's what you need to know. Margaret will save every penny. She'll work herself to death. She'll sacrifice everything because that's who she is, someone who believes love means suffering.
She learned that from me.
Don't let her do that forever. When the time comes, when she's declining, when she can't fight anymore, take the money. Use it. Live the lives she never let herself live. Don't waste it on guilt or obligation. She'll be angry, but she'll be free from the burden of holding onto something that was built on lies. Take care of each other. And remember, you don't owe your mother your lives just because she gave up hers. That was her choice. You get to make yours. Love always.
Dad.
I read it 3 times. Then I threw up. Everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. David hadn't loved me. Not at first. I was a revenge plot. A replacement. A consolation prize. And he'd left instructions for our children to rob me when I was at my most vulnerable, calling it freedom. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was realizing I'd done exactly what he predicted. I'd worked myself to death. I'd sacrificed everything. I'd built my entire identity around being the mother who gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left. And my children had learned from him, not me. They'd learned that I was something to be used, that my love was an obligation, not a gift, that they were entitled to everything I'd built because I'd been stupid enough to build it for them. I spent 3 days in that apartment, not eating, barely sleeping, reading David's letter over and over. Then I made some calls. First to my lawyer. Is there any way to reverse the transfers? With power of attorney authorization? Unlikely. You have to prove fraud or incompetence. But if you sign those POA documents willingly, what about pursuing criminal charges? Elder abuse, possibly. Financial exploitation. But you'd be taking your own children to court. It would be messy, public, expensive, and there's no guarantee you'd win. Second, to the bank. Can you freeze the yacht purchase? It's already processed, ma'am. The yacht is titled in your son's name. Third, to a private investigator. I need you to find out everything about my children's finances. Everything. That's when the final twist revealed itself. Sarah and Marcus didn't have good jobs anymore. They'd both been fired 6 months before my surgery. Sarah for embezzling company funds, a small amount swept under the rug, but enough to blacklist her in the industry. Marcus for insider trading, not enough evidence to prosecute, but enough to destroy his reputation. They weren't successful. They were desperate, and they planned to steal from me the moment they found out about my surgery. The private investigator found emails, texts, conversations between them dating back 8 months, right after they'd found David's letter in a safety deposit box I didn't know existed. We deserve this more than she does. She's going to die eventually anyway. Why wait? Dad was right. She's wasted her whole life. We can actually do something with the money. They'd engineered my trust. The hospital visits. The soup. The cleaned apartment. All of it calculated to make me sign that power of attorney without suspicion. And I had. Because I loved them. Because I'd given my whole life to them. Because I still believed, somewhere deep down, that love was enough. It wasn't. I didn't take them to court. I didn't file charges. I didn't try to get the money back. Instead, I did something David's letter never accounted for. I disappeared. I sold my apartment, the furniture, everything I owned. I took the $18,000 I had left in my checking account. I changed my phone number. I closed my social media accounts. I moved to a small town in Montana where nobody knew my name. And I started over. At 55, with almost nothing, I started over. I got a job at a local bookstore. Minimum wage, no benefits, but honest work. I rented a studio apartment above a coffee shop. I bought secondhand clothes and cooked simple meals and walked everywhere because I couldn't afford a car. And for the first time in 47 years, I felt free. Because I wasn't working for anyone else anymore. I wasn't sacrificing for children who saw me as a resource to be exploited. I wasn't carrying the weight of David's guilt or his manipulations. I wasn't performing the role of good mother or devoted widow. I was just Margaret. Finally, Sarah called 6 times in the first month, then Marcus, then both of them, frantic, when they realized I'd vanished. They filed a missing persons report. The police found me within 3 days. I wasn't hiding from the law, just from them. She doesn't want contact with you, the officer told them. She's of sound mind and making her own choices. There's nothing we can do. They tried to visit. I refused to see them. They sent letters. I burned them unopened. They hired a lawyer to contest my disappearance, to claim I was mentally unfit. The evaluation came back clear. I was perfectly sane, just done. The yacht business failed within 8 months. They'd overextended themselves, underestimated costs, and crashed spectacularly into debt. Last I heard from my private investigator. Yes, I kept him on retainer with my meager wages, because I wanted to know they'd filed for bankruptcy. Sarah was back to living with roommates. Marcus was working in a call center. They lost everything, including me. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. Walking away from my children. Letting them destroy themselves. Choosing loneliness over family. I tell them the truth. I don't have children anymore. I have 2 strangers who share my DNA and taught me the hardest lesson of my life. Love is not sacrifice. Sacrifice is not love. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of who they choose to be. I work at the bookstore. I have coffee with my coworkers. I read novels I never had time for before. I take walks in the mountains and watch sunsets without thinking about anyone's future but my own. And sometimes, late at night, I think about David's letter, about how he was wrong, about how I'm not free because I gave up the burden of money I never got to keep. I'm free because I finally learned that I was never anyone's martyr to burn. I was just a woman who loved the wrong people too much. And now I'm a woman who's learning, slowly, to love herself. The money is gone. My children are gone. The life I built for 47 years is gone. But I'm still here. And for the first time, that feels like enough. Last week, a letter arrived at the bookstore. No return address. Sarah's handwriting. I held it for 3 days before opening it. Inside was a single sentence. Mom, we're sorry. We were wrong. Please come home. And beneath it, a check. For $42,000. All they had left. I looked at that check for a long time. Thought about what it represented. Thought about forgiveness, second chances, the complexity of love and betrayal. Then I tore it into pieces and threw it in the trash. Because some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some endings are the only honest beginning. And some mothers need to save themselves instead. If this story spoke to your heart, don't let it fade. Subscribe to The Silent Parents, where every emotion finds a home.